Hey friends, and welcome to this new video dedicated to Poppy Playtime Chapter 5. Today we have a lot of interesting things to talk about. In the last few hours, new official messages have emerged, written directly by one of the members of Mob Entertainment. And these messages are causing quite a discussion in the community. The reason? They concern Huggy Wuggy, one of the most iconic characters in the entire saga. For a long time, some people have thought that Huggy Wuggy's presence in Chapter 5 was added just for commercial reasons, almost like a choice made to grab attention, using the nostalgia from Chapter 1. But apparently the situation is very different. These official messages in fact seem to confirm some details and information. And this completely changes the way we can interpret Huggy Wuggy, his role in the story, and especially the reason for his presence in Chapter 5. In this video, we will read these messages together, analyze them point by point, and then make all the necessary considerations, connecting the new information with what we already know from previous chapters. Some theories might collapse, while others could finally find official confirmation. Before we start though, as always, I ask you to support the video. If you enjoy Poppy Playtime content, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and turn on the bell, because here you will always find news, theories, and in-depth analysis about this universe. That said, let's go to the official messages. Alright, let's start right away with the analysis of the messages that have been shared. On Discord, an user wrote something that many of you have probably already heard. According to them, Huggy Wuggy was added in Chapter 5 only for commercial and marketing reasons. After all, it's not hard to see why someone might think this. Huggy Wuggy is undoubtedly one of the most iconic mascots of the entire series, a character everyone recognizes instantly, and his appearance inevitably brings attention, visibility, and yes, even merchandise. In the past, other people had the same impression, especially when Huggy Wuggy appeared at the end of Chapter 4, clearly hinting that he would return in Chapter 5. At that moment, many fans thought that he was added for marketing purposes. Immediately after, another user pointed out that Huggy Wuggy's return had actually been planned for a long time, even since Chapter 1, right after his first defeat. This completely changes the picture. Huggy Wuggy is not a sudden return for sales reasons, but an element thought out from the very beginning of the story. To confirm this official version, Ben Rooker, one of the members of Mob Entertainment, clarified that Huggy Wuggy's return was already planned and that he himself, when he joined the team between Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, was told that Huggy Wuggy would come back. So this is not a last-minute commercial addition, but a narrative plan that develops consistently throughout the saga. This means something very important. Huggy Wuggy's role in Chapter 5 is not tied to marketing or merchandising, but is part of the story, of the main plot of the series. Everything we see now is therefore connected to decisions made a long time ago, from the very first chapters, and not to visibility or sales strategies. What seemed like a casual return linked to marketing in reality was already planned and studied in great detail, and now we can start connecting all the story points in a clearer and more coherent way. The fact that Huggy Wuggy was already planned from the very first chapters has huge implications for what we can expect in Chapter 5. It means one very clear thing. His presence will absolutely not be marginal or secondary, as it might seem at first. Yes, this time Huggy Wuggy will not be the main antagonist, like he was in Chapter 1, when we faced his most dangerous side for the first time. But his role will still be fundamental and central to the plot. He is not a simple cameo or a passing return. His comeback has been carefully planned, and his presence will have a real impact on the story. To show you how much the team valued Huggy Wuggy, just consider that his name even appears in the Steam page description of Chapter 5. And not only that, there is also an official screenshot that shows him. All of this proves that his implementation is not superficial, but deeply integrated into the game's narrative. If Huggy Wuggy had been added at the last minute just for marketing or merchandising reasons, he probably wouldn't have had such an important role. He would have been just a visual appeal or an icon to attract fans and sell merchandise, and here we can make a very clear comparison with the Nightmare Critters, a case we know well. As many of you already know, the Nightmare Critters were not planned in the original storyboard of Chapter 4, the one written in 2021. They were added later, when the team started developing Chapter 4, so they were not part of the initial narrative plan. And it's very clear. Their implementation in the story is secondary, there is no deep connection with the main events, and their presence does not significantly influence the plot. With Huggy Wuggy in Chapter 5, however, the situation will be completely different. we are not talking about a last-minute addition. This is a character whose return was planned from the beginning, with a role designed to be relevant and connected to key events in the game. This makes us understand that Huggy Wuggy is not just an iconic symbol, but a real piece of the story, and that Chapter 5 will probably offer us new facets of his character and new narrative dynamics that we still cannot even fully imagine. Now, I want to focus on those confirmations regarding Huggy Wuggy's return that, in reality, were already visible long before Ben Rooker's messages. Why is this important to underline? Because there really was no need for an official confirmation, since the clues were already present in the previous chapters, hidden among the story and scene details. Let's start with Chapter 1. If we analyze the scene where Huggy Wuggy is defeated, we can clearly see that he falls into the void. At first glance, it might seem that his fate is already sealed, but in reality, we don't know what really happened to him. This is very different from other cases in the series. For example, with Mommy Longlegs, Catnap, or Doy the Doveman. When we defeat them, the scene is clear and definitive, and we can clearly see that they have been eliminated for good. There is no doubt, and the narrative shows it to us without leaving room for interpretation. With Huggy Wuggy, however, we never saw a scene like that. There was never a moment where it was clear that he had been completely eliminated. Already this, by itself, was a first very important clue, that he might have survived the fall. But if we want to go deeper, the clearest clue comes in Chapter 2. In that chapter, in fact, we find an area where we can see blue fur, and if we think about it, that fur belongs precisely to Huggy Wuggy. It's as if, after the fall from Chapter 1, Huggy Wuggy had passed through that area, leaving traces of his blue fur on the walls and pipes, but that's not all. We can also see traces of blood, a detail that shows that the character is injured but still alive. And if we analyze carefully, Huggy Wuggy is the only character we had encountered up to that point in the series to have blue fur and to be injured. All the other antagonists we had defeated or encountered in Chapter 2 or before did not have these specific details. So, without any official statement, this was already a direct and clear confirmation that Huggy Wuggy had survived his fall. Basically, the developers left very subtle but obvious narrative clues, which directly connect the chapters and confirm that Huggy Wuggy would not only return, but would have a significant role in the following story. And all this makes us understand how careful the series is with details and continuity, making sure that each chapter is connected to the previous one in ways that many fans might not notice at first. Back in 2023, before the release of Chapter 3, I had already made some theories about Huggy Wuggy, suggesting that he had survived the fall in Chapter 1. In fact, the clues were already there, hidden in the details of the previous chapters. The fall that wasn't definitive, the blue hairs in Chapter 2, the traces of blood, all elements that clearly showed us that Huggy Wuggy was not eliminated and that he would return in a big way. Thank you so much for watching the video until the end. You are amazing. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.